Hello, hello, dear all. Welcome to English Without Borders uh, Thursday series of webinars. And today is August 3rd, and we know that it's a vacation time, but at the same time, for many teachers, it's a good time to refresh their knowledge and also to get prepared for the new academic year, which is a month from now. And today we have our usual Thursday webinar and we are so happy to to greet and to welcome our guest speaker today. So dear all, please welcome our speaker Marwa Mansour, and today she will talk about how to bring micro learning into your classroom. And just to briefly introduce our speaker today, Marwa Mansour was born in Egypt, Cairo, and she studied business at Ain Shams University, but her passion for learning and teaching the English language led her to shift her career and study at Cambridge University to fulfill her dreams. She started her teaching career in Saudi Arabia in 2004, and since that time she has served in different positions: English teacher, head of English department, academic manager, CIE exam officer, Cambridge coordinator, school principal, and in various private schools and different countries. She attended several pieces of training regarding different implementations in English teaching, teachers training, evaluation, and assessment, and preparation for accreditation. Regarding to Cambridge Advanced and AIIAA and IB, and she volunteered at TESOL, Saudi Arabia for 2 years. She carried out specific studies in literature, management, leadership, and training, and holds a master's degree in English education from Indonesia, and has a podcast on Instagram on teaching and cycle and related um, fields. Currently, she is the CEO of Oxford School in Tajikistan, and we had the great pleasure to collaborate with Oxford School this year. Jointly organized several activities, and we were very happy to host um, Marwa Mansour and her colleague during our regional conference in Sult. And and now we have invited her to share her extensive teaching experience with so many teachers. And of course, all those who are watching this webinar, they are joining via Facebook and Zoom. And please use this chance to ask your questions to our speaker after her presentation. And all those who missed this webinar, they still have chance to watch it afterwards in the archive on Facebook. And so please enjoy this time with our speaker and enhance your teaching skills and tools along this webinar. Okay, thank you so much. And over to you, Marwa. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Nasiba. Thank you so much for this introduction. Welcome all the attendees here. And I'm very proud to be part of EWB community now. It's not our first cooperation together, and I hope for more cooperation, inshallah, in the future. Okay, dear participants, let's start immediately. I know we all have that precious time. Okay, here we go. I hope everyone can see the screen.
Yeah, we can see.
Okay, perfect. Okay, the topic today is about microlearning. Microlearning is a trend in education since long time, but recently it is improving, and many schools are using it, and even us, we are using it unconsciously, and we will see that now. As you see here in this part, in that screen, sorry, just a second. As we see here, dripping water hollows out stone, not through force, but through persistence. As we see now, when a drop of water just goes over the stone, it makes a hole in it, not because the drop of water is strong, but because of persistence. So it is something that happens every moment, every day. The micro-learning concept is coming from what we are living nowadays. We all know and we all feel in the classroom that we have different generation of students. In the past times, students were, how can I tell you, the only resource for information was the teacher in the class and maybe the book. If the teacher illustrates the book in a very well way, so it means that the lesson is understood. But nowadays, the students or the children, or let's say whoever, myself, yourself, we are learning more by micro-learning unconsciously. Let's see how does this happen. So in today's agenda, we will discuss together what is micro-learning, what's the difference between the traditional teaching and the micro-learning and the 5 moments of need, and the benefits and challenges of micro-learning. And at the end, we will see some activities to adapt micro-learning into your classroom. So let's start first by what is micro-learning. As we see this apple, we can't eat an apple just once. We need to bite it one by one until we eat all of it and our body gets all the benefit from this apple. It is the same with micro-learning. Micro-learning is explaining the lesson or whatever the message you want to give to the person in front of you in small chunks. So the person in front of you, whatever the age of the student, can understand and digest whatever you are giving. Even if the amount of information is really large, but with micro-learning, they can understand and they can digest whatever they are learning. So how it works? Simply, you can think about the social media. So what happens on the social media now is that we spend hours and hours just going through the small or the short videos, or as they call it, reels or shorts or stories or whatever. People are learning more from these short videos that they watch all the time. Let me give you a very simple example. You can learn a recipe by these shorts. It is very short and it is more beneficial to you than watching an episode for a chef in a cooking program or something. Normally, in a cooking program, it takes like maybe 30 to 45 minutes just to learn a recipe. But in a short or a story on Instagram, you can see it in like 1 minute, 60 seconds, and you can learn the recipe exactly the same way. So that is exactly micro-learning. That's how it works. Let's see. After that, let's see where did this concept come from and how it works to learn by micro-learning or to teach by micro-learning. It can be by texts, as we see here, like to give your students short texts, not the long ones. I'm sure that all of us, we have seen the texts in IELTS or TOEFL exams, or even in the reading books and so on. Nowadays, students, normally they get lost with that amount of information and they need to go to the questions and come back to the text just to find out what the answer might be. But in the micro-learning style, you give a shorter text. And I could see that a little bit in the SAT exam. It is like a specified paragraph that you can find the answer in. So it mentions that in paragraph number 1, and it asks the question. So here it is very focused and it follows the micro-learning style. Also, micro-learning can be done by images. And we can see that when you are using some flashcards in the class or some images, as I will show you today, some illustrations or visuals that can deliver all the message by this visual or this photo. It can be taught by videos, as we said, like TikTok and Instagram, or whatever the video you can prepare for your students. It can be very short video. It can be by an audio that you record it to your students, like when they go home, they will listen to it, or We can see this example very obvious in podcasts now. Or by interactive elements like quizzes and games and other gamification mechanics that we have seen or we can find online, or you can prepare yourself according to the level and the criteria of your students. So texts, images, videos, audios, and games or interactive elements, whatever it is. So who discovered about that, or how did they start thinking about that? As we see in the picture, we have Ebbinghaus. He's a psychologist, a German psychologist, and he started his study by studying the forgetting curve. When you start explaining, let's look at the curve together here. When you start explaining to your students the lesson, like immediately, they can remember 100% of what you have said or explained. After 20 minutes, it means after the teacher comes out of the class, the retention percentage reaches to 58 minutes. After 1 hour, let's say within the following lesson of your lesson, they remember only 44%. After 9 hours, when they go back home, they remember 36%. And if we go like that, after about 30 days, they remember only 20% of the information you have explained. And of course, if after 1 month, I'm trying to make a quiz for my students for the present sample, most probably they would be able to have like 2 out of 10, or let's say 20 out of 100. It means that they still remember only 20% of this information. But when they compared that to the micro-learning curve, like if we are explaining by micro-learning, as you see here, the information learned starting by 100%. And then within the first day, like after the first day, tomorrow, let's say, if I am revising the part I have taught yesterday and I add a small chunk to it today, and the following day, like within the third day, if I again review and I add a small chunk again, if you take a look at the range of the days where the information is being forgotten, you will see that it is lasting long. So first, it will last for 1 day, then it will last for 3 days, then it will last for 6 days, and so on and so forth. So if you keep on that level of revising the information and giving a small chunk of information for the following session, it will reach with the student till the end of the month that they can remember about 100% of the information you have done with them. Why is that? Because while reviewing, somehow you practice with them using the information you have taught. Of course, what we are telling today is not only about the language. It's not only about English language. I myself, I tried it in many schools with many subjects, and it is really successful technique. And I will show that to you later. So let's go together to compare the micro-learning with the traditional way of teaching or learning. So I want you to deal with yourself as a learner as well, because maybe you need to learn some skills, or maybe you need to learn some more methodologies about teaching English or whatever. Follow the micro-learning technique, you will find it is very successful. So let's take a look here at that comparison between micro-learning and traditional education. If we look at the duration, you will see that you will prepare the lesson for only from 5 to 15 minutes. But within traditional education, it takes you from 60 to 90 minutes. If we are talking about a chunk lesson, like 2 following lessons, 45 and 45 minutes, it will be like 90 minutes of teaching. The format here in the micro-learning, it is totally informal. It is very interactive. You can use a lot of audios and visuals. For the traditional education, it is very formal. The teacher is speaking, the student is listening, we are using the board, we are writing there, and it is most of the time text-based. if we look at the approach of the microlearning, it is really flexible. But for the traditional education, it is very linear, like the time of talking and everything, it goes really linear. Regarding the control for the microlearning, it is student-centered, the learner-driven. It means that the learner is taking the responsibility of his education, of his learning. But for the traditional education, the teacher is taking the responsibility of teaching and learning. For the microlearning regarding the usage, it is multiple use and shareable. And we will see that in the example a while ago. But for the traditional education, it is single use and non-shareable. Every student is alone, every student is just receiving the information and he can't share anything. For the pace, for the microlearning, it is self-paced and level-based. And we will see that also in the example. So the teacher will achieve the differentiation by teaching, by microlearning. But in the traditional, it is a formal pace and for the entire class. For the role, the teacher is the facilitator. I am only a facilitator. And for the traditional, the teacher is an instructor. I will receive your questions. Please, if you have any questions, kindly take your notes. And by the end of the session, we will have Q&A time. So I can receive all your questions regarding that. Thank you. Regarding the communication, the microlearning is 3 ways communication. How can we see that? It's like a triangle communication because it is student to teacher, teacher to student, and student to student. So it is 3-way communication. But for the traditional education, it is teacher-student communication. For the engagement, for the microlearning, it is really easy to be engaged. And for the traditional, it is difficult to follow because most of the students, they lose the tension after a while of time. So we usually use the microlearning in the 5 moments of need. And we need to know together what are the 5 moments of need. Can any of you suggest what might be the moments of need that I need to cut my lesson into chunks or small chunks so that my students can understand? You can share your ideas in the chat box, please. What might be the time of need when your student would need you to cut the lesson into small pieces? I need to see your answers in the chat box, please. What do you think the time might be when your student needs you to cut the lesson into pieces? Have you ever experienced that? Okay. Okay, I can't see any answers. Let's see. Listening and reading. I have some answers here. When it is listening lesson or reading lesson. When it is time for presentation, practice, production. Okay. So let's go through the 5 moments of need. The students normally, they need you to go through microlearning. Just a second here. When we have these moments of need. First, when you are introducing a new topic. For example, I have students, believe it or not, within the American system, they are teaching the present simple to the students in grade 1. And one of the time, of course, once upon a time, I was a teacher for grade 1, and I have to teach them present simple. So it was really challenging. How am I supposed to do that with kids at that age? And this is a totally new topic to them. I can't even guarantee that they know what does the word grammar mean. if I tell them this is a grammar lesson. So at that moment, following the micro learning technique was very, very helpful. So when you are presenting a new topic to your students and you feel that it is far away from their mind or their mindset or whatever, it is totally new to them, I really advise you to follow the micro learning technique, and we will see that. The second moment of need is that when you are explaining more. For example, my students already started the present simple last year, but they studied only how to form the the affirmative and negative sentence, but they don't know how to form a question. So in that moment, I am presenting to them more information about the present simple. In my opinion, at that moment, you need to go back to revise first. How can we prepare a positive sentence? How can we make a negative sentence? And then we can jump together to how to form a question and so on. The third moment is applying, when it is the time to apply what we have learned together. And as you wrote in the comments, maybe when you are applying, especially what we have learned in listening, one of the skills we are learning in listening is taking notes technique, how to take notes from the listening or the lecture you are listening to. Or for example, in reading, if you are trying to practice with your students how to summarize a reading passage. So in that moment, it is the moment of applying. So bit by bit, how can we find, for example, the main idea of the text we are summarizing? How can we find the details, the examples, the conclusion, and so on? What to keep, what to omit. Here we go. We are applying the technique of summarizing a text or a passage. So in this moment, they will need you to go through the micro learning. Number 4, solving. If the student or even yourself, if you are facing a problem, the best way we are following, but unconsciously, is that we break the problem into pieces to be able to solve it. So that's what happens with your students as well. If the student is facing a problem or there is a part, I wouldn't say an exam, but if they have a problem inside the learning, inside your class, in learning a specific part, you would cut it into pieces as a micro learning, and you will go through that. I will give you a very tiny exam. We had a spelling bee this year in Oxford School, and it was the first time to have spelling bee. And when I started to introduce the spelling bee to the students, it was a really new thing to them. So here we go. This is the moment. It's a new thing, and at the same time, it looks like a problem for them. How are we able to memorize all that amount of vocabulary to win the competition? So I asked the teachers to start first with words of 3 letters, like CVC only. And the students would memorize that. After that, let's go through the 4 letters words. After that, the 5 letters, the 3 syllables, and so on. It was really successful. The kids were in love with the spelling bee, and they were really happy that they won at the end. Even the students who just experienced that, they were really happy that they tried something new. So here we go. Here it is. We have a problem. We will break it into parts, and we will solve it bit by bit. This is again another micro learning minute of need. The 5th minute of need is the change. When you are changing something. Let me give you an example. Sometimes you as a teacher, you go to a school to replace another teacher. And I experienced that, and I'm sure many of you experienced that as well. When you replace another teacher, sometimes the old teacher, she had her own way in teaching something, or she planted something into the mind of the kids. And at that moment, you need to change that in their mind. So at that moment, you need to make that change bit by bit, micro learning way. You change a bit, and you practice it, and then you change another part and you practice it, and so on. So these are the 5 moments of need. You need to sit down while you are planning your lesson, and you need to find out, is it a new moment? Am I gonna explain them more? Are we gonna apply something? Or are we solving a problem here? Or are we changing something? Dear teachers, sometimes it is necessary to work with the students individually, of course. What we are talking about here is not for a class thing. It can be, of course, for the class, we will see that together, but also it can be individually. For example, I have a weak student or a low achiever, let's say, and maybe that student needs the micro-learning technique, not the others. So according to your students, you can figure out which way to follow. What are the benefits and the challengings of following the micro-learning? The benefits of having the micro-learning in your technique inside the class is that it is quick to complete. Maybe some of you would say, how come it is quick? Because maybe I can explain the present simple in 1 or 2 lessons and we are done. I would say, no, really guys, that doesn't work, because our students are students of English as a second or maybe third language. So if you are explaining a whole lesson at the beginning, I would say that they didn't understand anything and they are not able to apply that. And I saw that in my students, to be honest. The students, for example, are mixing all the tenses. They don't know how to shift while they are speaking. Is it the time to use the present simple or the present continuous? Is it the time to use the past simple or is the present perfect? So they don't know what time to shift. So what time would they know if they practiced that very well? So if you give the time to your student by micro-learning and cut your lesson into small pieces, believe me, you will finish quickly. Because at the end of the year, you will find that your result is the best. Your students can practice and apply whatever they have learned with you because it is still here. The second benefit is that it is easy to deliver. For you as a teacher, when you cut your lesson into pieces, it is really easy for you to present that. What I have seen from some teachers is that at the beginning, they panic a little bit because Miss Marwa, we need just to finish the book. Actually, finishing the book is not the objective. The objective is learning. So if my student is not learning anything, but I have finished the book, so what? What will happen next year? So this is the point here. It is really easy for you to cut your lesson, one lesson, to the 5 days of the week. And you will present, practice, present, apply, practice, and so on for the whole week. At the end of the week, it will be very easy and quickly for you to finish everything. The third benefit, which I really believe in, it is better suited to the modern learner. Nowadays kids. How can I tell you? I have seen many students who can explain a lot about an animal because they have watched, for example, the dogs, how to take care of dogs. They have watched many videos, shorts about how to take care of dogs, and they have a lot of information. Many students knew a lot of information about coronavirus because they have watched many information through Instagram or Facebook or TikTok or whatever in short videos. So it is really beneficial for the students. Plus, after the pandemic, we have a new generation of teachers and new generation of students as well. They are used to use technology and those shorts, and they are used to be like a sponge to absorb all the information they are listening and watching. So when you follow the same technique inside the class, believe me, it strengthens the relationship between you and the student, because he feels that you are a modern teacher and you understand my mentality and you can reach here. So just try it and you will see the result. The following benefit of that, sorry, just let's go back. We still have some. It boosts engagement, and we will see that. When you are teaching a small chunk of your lesson, you will have enough time to apply it or practice it by an activity. It might be a game or, I don't know, flashcards or something like that. So you will see that it is more engaging, and your students would wait for you the next lesson. What will the teacher do for the next lesson? They wonder all the time. So it is really engaging. The fifth benefit is that it increases knowledge retention. Like they really remember everything. It reaches to 80%. They can remember of the information you have explained to them, of course, because of the persistence, like pace of information you are presenting. The sixth, it enables self-paced learning. The whole world now, especially the international systems and the international curriculums and syllabuses, it is going through the self-paced learning. In the States, it has been happening since long time, but now it goes through all the world. Like the student should be self-learner, like he needs to learn by himself. So as we mentioned a while ago, the teacher is only a facilitator. The teacher is only a person who opens the gate and shows the title of the lesson, and after that, the student goes by himself. So the micro-learning is a very suitable technique to raise up your students to get used to be self-learners. But here are the challenges. What are the moments that I can't apply microlearning? If the lesson or the topic is very complex, like I would put myself in the place of math teachers, for example. In some of the topics, the topic is really going in sequence and they can't cut that sequence. So they have to go through the whole lesson all together and practice it all together. So in complex topics, it is really difficult. And it may require additional expertise or additional time of preparation. Again, if you are active teachers, I'm sure you are because you are here today. You will love preparing your lesson according to microlearning. It will take you time to cut your lesson and to find the suitable activity or application for each part of your lesson. For me, preparing a lesson by microlearning is like a puzzle. I love puzzles a lot, and I love gathering the big puzzles, like 1,000 pieces to 3,000 pieces. And working with microlearning is like a puzzle to me, because you just you have that fun watching that chunk, that application, the result of your students, and jumping to the second part, application, and finding out about the result and going on and going forth. It is really fun, and it makes you touch the result of your teaching every after very small time, like after a very short time, like after 5 minutes to 15 minutes, you can touch immediately if they have learned or not. Okay, let's see some examples of microlearning that we are facing in our life, and we can adopt this in our classrooms. The first thing is the podcast. Applying the podcast in your class is very, very beneficial. As we see in the picture, there are some classes or some schools that are applying podcasts through tablets in a tablet lab. If this is not available in your school, you can follow that by your phone and a very tiny speaker. It can be a podcast for the whole class, or what one of my teachers is following. He sends his podcast, which is like 5 minutes or something, at the end of the day, and the student has to go back home and listen to it, and the next day they practice and they discuss it. It's really beneficial. As Miss Nasiba introduced me, I also have a podcast on Instagram. It is only 1 minute audios, and it is really beneficial, and I have a great feedback about it. So very, very small or short audios that you can record by your own voice, or you can find online, which is ready, and you can present to your students to prepare them to the next lesson, or to apply something, or to practice something. It's really beneficial. Try to find it and practice it. The second way is task-based lesson or task-based simulations. I will give you an example about that a while later. As you see here from this diagram, which is a micro-learning itself, the task is there, but you give pre-task something that you engage your students, you engage them about the standards of your task and what is required to be done. Then you give them the task, you plan it, you present it, and after that you try to find what is the result of that, and you go back to the task to achieve the accuracy with your students. We will see a big example of that. Also, as you see here, the infographics. It is really beneficial in learning. For example, here we have this part. It's part of a business lesson, and it is about recruitment process. It is in the chapter of HR management. And as we see here, it is very difficult to the student to memorize all the steps of recruitment process with all the details. But as we see here in that infographic, we have the steps and very small idea about each step. I'm sure the students would remember even by the colors that we can see in that infographic. It is really nice way of teaching, and a very nice way of, especially if you have something with a lot of steps or a lot of process, the students can memorize this very easily. Another part here is the online videos or demos. As I told you, some of the teachers prefer to record their videos and they put it somewhere on YouTube. They share the link with their students. I have seen one of the teachers, he was a computer science teacher, and he used to explain in the class the lesson because he was really lack of time. But on his YouTube channel, he puts the whole lesson as small lessons, like 1 to 2 minutes on YouTube, and the students can watch that later on and they reflect on that after that. Okay. The following part here that, or the following thing we can follow. The real world examples. This is also a way of micro-learning. For example, here Google, if you look at Google, you will see that everything is presented on Google website in chunks or little chunks. If you check that, you will find that and you can show it to your students easily. Of course, not only Google, a lot of websites are following the same. That's why the kids would like to go there. For example, we have the website of the British Council. The British Council is having a very nice website for kids, for teenagers, for adults, and even for teachers. These websites are following the micro-learning technique. Everything is divided there according to the level and the need. For example, A1, it is divided into the skills, the 4 skills, and even grammar and so on, and vocabulary. You can find everything divided into small chunks so that you can understand everything very easily.
Hi, I'm Brinley, and I'm a business recruiter at Google.
Also, one of the very nice ways is the series games, and I'm sure some of you have experienced that. It's like you present educational contents and you are presenting game techniques and with some storytelling and some fun. that makes serious games. So it means like we are playing games together. All these games are related to each other, but everything is different from everything. How is this? For example, I'm presenting a lesson to my students this week. I have decided about that. And I can start the lesson by storytelling. Then tomorrow, we can present an educational content. Then after tomorrow, we can play a game. And after tomorrow, we can have some fun together outside of my classroom, playing something outside. So it is that mixture of all the techniques together that creates that serious games, but it is all around one topic. And without the students feeling anything, you can present that small chunk in every part. In the storytelling, I will present a part. And after that, in the podcast, for example, I will present a part. And in a video, another part. And in a game, another part. And then we will have fun outside of the classroom in a fifth part. So this way, by the end of the week, you will find that your students can understand everything. Here's also, this is another part of a serious game that the business teacher in our school, he plays with his students. It's called SIM companies. And in that game, the teacher and the students, they join together in one company. And everyone has his own role. Like one of them is a financial manager, one of them is the HR manager, one of them is the CEO, one of them is the CFO, and they go together through that company to make it bigger. During that, they do everything they study in business curriculum. They do the analysis, they do, I don't know, all the graphs needed. As you see here in the example, this is a real company done by my students with their teacher. And they have all the numbers are real, all the money they win there and they invest and so on. So it encourages the student to learn by small chunks and to apply what they have studied with their teacher in the class into the game. Really beneficial. And in English, of course, we have many applications or games online that we can see. We can apply such a thing. Also, one of the very successful technique is a step-by-step checklists. And as a teacher, I have followed that for years. I have followed that in teaching writing, in teaching literature. In one of the years, I was teaching theater, like Shakespeare only. I was a Shakespeare teacher only. And in all these periods of time, I followed the step-by-step checklists. It means like at the beginning of the week or the months, according to yourself, you can hang a checklist at the door of your class or on the wall or whatever, in a place that they can see the students. And you write all your goals or objectives or the parts of the lesson that you want to achieve with them, and you check it one by one. When we finish each one, we just check it together. Maybe some of you would say that technique might be successful with high schoolers, but this is not correct. Believe me, I followed that from grade 1 to adults, and it works. Even kids in grade 1 and grade 2, after we finished the part on the board or whatever, they run to the checklist to check what happened today, which part we have finished. This one, miss. So, okay, we are going perfectly. We are going according to the plan. Of course, everything is dated for them. So they know the date of today is this. And today we wanted to study 6 vocabulary about animals. We have done that today. So checklists are very successful. For me also, for myself as a teacher, I'm using checklists to cut my tasks into pieces. It will be very successful also for you. This one is my favorite ever, the micro nuggets stations. You know, the chicken. Of course, we all eat chicken, but the kids like the nuggets. The nuggets are very small and they really like it. I don't know why, but it always happens. So in that techniques, as you see in the example here, please follow, follow my mouse. I hope it works. Yes. As you see here, this is your table, the teacher's table. And we have stations around the class. Of course, in that technique, there are no desks that the students are seated. They are standing all the time. Here we have, for example, station 1, it takes 5 minutes. Station 2, 5 minutes. Station 3, 5 minutes. Station 4, 5 minutes. And they go to the teacher for 10 minutes. How is that? Let's give an example. The teacher today is teaching the present simple. If the teacher is teaching the present simple on the first table, for example, she will put here, she will put on the first table the present simple to teach the positive or the affirmative sentence. Here, when the student goes to that station, he will find a lot of activities to do to make sure that he can form the affirmative sentence. For example, there are a lot of papers with different words, like I go to school every day, like unscrambled, and or scrambled, sorry, and he needs to unscramble them beside each other. Of course, according to the age of your student. In station 2, he will learn the negative sentence. In station 3, he will learn the yes/no question. Station 4, he will learn the WH question. And when he goes to the teacher, he will need to tell her some information about herself in a positive sentence, a negative sentence, and asks the teacher a yes/no question and a WH question. If we take a look at the table in the middle, it says extended activities for students who finish. Actually, I use the table in the middle for differentiation. If the student is a high achiever and finished all the tables quickly, he can go to the table in the middle to find, for example, something to be written, like the paragraph about yourself using the present simple. What do you do? Your daily routine, for example. If the student is a low achiever, the teacher will take him from her table to that table to practice more on the part that he didn't understand. I followed that for years also. Of course, not every day, because otherwise it's going to be boring for the kids. But when it is the time for stations, it was really, really encouraging the students to go through the stations and to finish as soon as possible and to come to my table to deliver their worksheets or their activities or whatever they have done and to reflect in front of me by speaking. It is a good chance to learn everything and to do their reflection individually. So this way you can see and understand if your students understand everything or not. Okay, I think in the chat box we have questions. Okay, then we can see the questions after we finish. Okay, here we go. Example of microlearning websites and applications that you can see in real life. Let's go through that. The first one is TED Ed, one of my favorite ever. TED for Education. It's a channel on YouTube. And if you take a look at all the videos, I have circled all of them. If you take a look at all the videos, they are very short. Very short. Some of them are 3 minutes, 5 minutes, 2 minutes. Why? Because it is following the microlearning. These people believe that we can learn better in short chunks. Also, we have that application, and it is a way to learn vocabulary. And as you see here, the vocabulary here is put in yellow highlight, and it presents it in a context so the student can know how to use it. It's also very beneficial. Duolingo, I hope you have tried that. I'm learning Russian and Spanish through Duolingo because, and once before I learned Turkish, I started learning Turkish by Duolingo as well. Very small chunks, very fun. I'm learning, and at the end, I can get some benefits from that. If you try it, you will discover. Also that one, it also gives you the meaning. It's every day, by the way. That application is really nice. It gives you a word every day that you need to learn, as we see here. Just a second. Also here, practicing on micro-learning. How can we do that? Just a second. Let's practice together. I want you to write in the chat box. You now see a picture or a photo. What do you understand from this? Today never comes. We have tomorrow, 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 and today. What do you get from here? What can you understand from this picture? Write in the chat box. Any idea? Today never comes. Yes, yes, yes. Some people are postponing everything. It's not only about lessons. It's generally like tomorrow I will do that. Tomorrow I will do that. Okay, here we gave the message. I gave the message to you without any need of talking a lot or explaining a lot. Let's look at the other one. Just a second. What do you see here? Before you start, during the task, after a while. What can we see in this picture? So I have a friend of mine who's just about, yes, tomorrow will never comes. Which one? Is it, yep. Problem seems great or big at the beginning, but once we try to solve that, it becomes like, or not only problems, but also the new tasks or new jobs. Maybe at the beginning, you are a teacher and then the school administration decided to make you a coordinator. You see that it is a very big job, a very big issue to me. But and during you are doing your job as a coordinator, you get used to it. And finally, you are a professional one. Okay, that's perfect. Okay, how about this one? Yeah, that's easy. I will do it tomorrow. About a task, and then after some days, the task becomes bigger. It's something similar to what we have said about postponing things. Thank you. Here, if you can't do it all together, it's okay to do one step at a time. Isn't it micro-learning? It is micro-learning also. Like, cut your tasks into pieces and everything will go okay. Here, what we think it is like and how it really is. See? As we see here, the first step is always big. Yeah.
It's going step by step. Like
Yeah, everything is going step by step. Here also, this is motivation. This is, this is motivation and this is habits. It gives the message that if you are motivated, maybe your motivation will go up and down, but if you have the habit, this is consistency. So as we see here, all these pictures are sample or example of teaching your students by infographics. I would end my presentation by my favorite quote for this guy. I really like him. He is a mathematician. You say, you can't teach people everything they want to know. The best you can do is position them where they can find what they need to know when they need to know it. So very simply, we can't teach our students everything. We can just create the environment that would help them to learn what they need at the time when they need. So don't kill yourselves, guys. Just create the environment and the rest is on your self-learners. Thank you so much. This is the end of my presentation. I would like to listen to the questions or let me see the questions on the chat box.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Marwa,
You're
for
welcome.
such a great presentation. Like,
Thank you, madam.
you have introduced kind of a new concept, micro-learning. Maybe some of participants learned about that. Maybe for some of them, it's something completely new. But anyway, yeah, let's open the floor to questions and answers. We still have time to kind of to address a couple of questions. So if you can see here in the chat box, we have a couple of questions. The first one, let me read them for you. The first one, how do you measure the effectiveness of micro-learning? And question number 2, how do you integrate micro-learning with traditional classroom instruction? And number 3, how do you prevent micro-learning from becoming fragmented and disconnected from the overall learning experience?
From becoming what? Sorry, I can't see that.
Yeah,
Just
from
a
the
second.
yeah, if you scroll up, you can
Yeah,
see
I
the
saw.
questions. Yeah, good.
Fragmented and disconnected from the overall learning experience. Yes. Okay,
Thank you.
so let's start question by question. How do you measure the effectiveness of microlearning? Of course, as a teacher, you need to have a continuous feedback from your students. And sometimes in some systems, it is very difficult to apply a very different system. For example, when I came here, most of the methodology followed is the traditional one. If I go through micro-learning immediately with my students, there will be a chaos inside the class because the students are not used to that. They are not ready to that. And maybe the teacher also is not ready. So what happens is that we apply this every now and then just to be able to measure the effectiveness. Here we go. You can give a very simple quiz. We call it a pop quiz, like 5 questions, maybe multiple choice, and you can measure how does it go with your students. The very important part, especially, for example, with the station style, if you don't have that classroom management, if you are not controlling your class very well, you will lose everything inside the class and it will turn into a trip. Like everyone is visiting a station and no one is learning anything. So it is measurable. You can find out if your students learned or not by achieving all the tasks given to them, or by practicing. If I speak to my student and he can use the present simple well, it means he learned and it worked. For the second question, how do you integrate microlearning with traditional classroom instructions? You can follow, as I told you a while ago, my students are used to the traditional way, and me, myself, I'm used to that as well, and I want to integrate them. Maybe for the first day of the week, I will follow the traditional methodology, and for the next day, we will give a little bit microlearning and so on until you get used to that. It is really important that the students are not facing any shock while using the microlearning with them, because as I told you, they will feel that the teacher is here to joke a little bit with us. We don't want this impression. The third question we have, how do you prevent microlearning from becoming fragmented and disconnected from the overall learning experience? Again, it's the habit. If you're a student, I will give you a very small example. I have 2 classes that are being taught by 2 teachers. One of the teachers promised her students, if you go well for the whole week, every Friday, we will have an activity outside in the yard. But the other class, their teacher is teaching in a traditional way. Believe it or not, we agreed. It was like a study or a research that we have done together. The class with the teacher who promised them outside activity every Friday, they were the result of them on our system. We are following the EduPage system. I was following the result. It was really increasing week by week. The students were really, they had the commitment to do their homeworks on time. They had the commitment to study everything with their teacher because they are motivated to have a very little micro learning lesson outside. So again, it's not fragmented, believe me. It's just the habit. You build the habit with your student. You build the routine. A habit without a routine means nothing. So you need to show them, like on Monday, it's going to be grammar. In Tuesday, it's going to be reading, and so on. You show them the routine and the habit. And after that, they will follow you. It's not going to be fragmented anyway. Do we have more questions?
Thank you so much.
Thank you,
so
dear.
let me
I'm trying
just,
to find.
check. I think that's all what we have by now.
Mhm.
Yeah, and of course, like I mean, just our audience who will be watching it afterwards, they can
Mhm.
just put their questions, below the video in the comment box on Facebook, and of course, we will, Mara
I'm
will
all
get
ears.
yeah.
Yeah, we can
Okay.
share my email or whatever. They can
Yes.
ask whatever they want.
Yes, of course.
Mhm.
Yeah, and using this chance, let me once again, to convey our deepest gratitude for your time, for your energy, and of course, for your dedication to share your extensive teaching experience with teachers in Tajikistan. Thank you so much,
Thank
dear
you,
Marwa.
madam. Thank
Yeah,
you for
and
giving me the chance to be part of you, and I'm always with you.
yeah, thank you so much. And dear
Mr.
all,
Bakhwan, can I
yes,
add
please.
something?
Yes, please.
Okay. I'm very glad to see you, Marwa, because
Thank you, Ms. Munawar.
yes, today we had many or a lot of information about it, and I hope teachers will use it. Thank you very much for your effort and great job. Thank you
Thank you,
for
dear.
coming, and hope we will continue our cooperation.
Sure.
Of course, for the new year. Yes, thank you very much.
Sure. Thank you, madam.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Munawar. Okay. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
Enjoy your evening, everyone.
yeah, exactly. Thank you,
Okay.
dear audience, for your active engagement and also just, asking your questions. Hope you will find these materials useful and start using them in your teaching practice, because I'm sure, I listened it very attentively and I found really good insights during your presentation. And I think, bringing some refreshments into our teaching skill and also teaching practice is always good.
Sure.
To make our classes more engaging and also just comprehensive for the students. Thank you so much, and
Thank you.
once again, dear all, have a great evening, and hope to see you in our next webinar next Thursday. And please follow us on social media to stay updated on English Zalbora's activities and also updates. Thank you so much.
Thank
Have a
you.
great evening.
Enjoy your evening, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.